Hello, brothers and sisters. Welcome back to our study of life under the sun. We call it what was left at the bottom of the barrel, which is a little light of hope. And that's when, in a sense, the entire ceiling will collapse and flood will lighten, just flood into his life. He really will be drowned in the reality of God's sovereign rule. Let no one tell you that this book is not pointing to God. It really is. We will see God just drown us in the truth of this sovereign God, which is important because it is a doctrine that is questioned, fought against, or even twisted into something else. We're going to see through inspiration what Kohelet has to tell us about it. Through this flooding of the truth of God, he's going to be brought to a poem once again, like in chapter 1, where he talked about the monotony of life and how everything turns in circle and leads nowhere. Now he's going to tell us about the different seasons. And from this poem, of course, he's then going to explain himself. What does this poem mean? And that's when we're going to see how everything is of him and for him. So let's begin by drowning ourselves in this beautiful poem in chapter 3 of Ecclesiastes. For everything there is a season, and a time for every matter under heaven. A time to be born, and a time to die. A time to plant, and a time to pluck up what is planted. A time to kill, and a time to heal. A time to break down, and a time to build up. A time to weep, and a time to laugh. A time to mourn, and a time to dance. A time to cast away stones, and a time to gather stones together. A time to embrace, and a time to refrain from embracing. A time to seek and a time to lose. A time to keep and a time to cast away. A time to tear and a time to sow. A time to keep silence and a time to speak. A time to love and a time to hate. A time for war and a time for peace. What a beautiful poem. So misunderstood nowadays. Or many say that this whole poem is about how we should discover the season we're in and even try to control it. Yeah, that's not the point, as we will see, because Kohelet is going to actually explain his poem. But the one thing I want you to focus on is how he's presenting extremes. Right before he was just turning in circles. Now in this poem, he's presenting us the two parts, if you will, two spectrums of our certain subjects, like life and death, like killing someone and healing them, like rooting up or planting something. It's all extremes. Keep note of this beginning and end thing. It's going to be important for later. So what does this poem mean? Well, Kohelet's going to explain it, but not before giving us one of these provocative, thought and advancing questions. These goats that he uses to make us go forward. As he asks this, what gain has the worker from his toil? Gain is what he's looking for. His whole point of his studies and his efforts is to get this gain, this palpableness in a word of hevel, where everything seems meaningless, can't be grasped. I want that graspable part. I want something I can hold on to. And like he says, what is it? For these people who keep bouncing from season to season, where do you find the gain in that? Already you see it's not about controlling it and being successful in it. Because he's still asking, what do you find in palpableness? He, Kohelet, who had tried to build and construct and do incredible things in all these right seasons, and said at the end, all of this seemed hevel because it could be lost by death, by somebody else holding on to it. So where's this gain? Well, he's going to try to answer that by pointing towards God. He's going to say, I've seen the business that God has given to the children of man to be busy with. So what do we get? We get to know our season, control them? No, we get busyness and to be busy. God subjects the children of man, us, in his sovereign rule. Already we're seeing how this poem is about God who does this to us, who establishes this season. And we just live them, experience them, and have no say in the matter. We see it by where he's going here. It's about how God brings this to be. in people's lives. That's how you answer the question. Where's the pebble in this? Because God's doing this. I have no say in the matter. See, continue to focus on God and really open up this great big box of God's glory and say, He has made everything beautiful in His time. Also, He has put eternity into man's heart. Yet, so that he cannot find out what God has done from the beginning to the end. Please take note of this beautiful word, or good. We'll put that in our pocket for later. Everything God does is good. Especially this eternity into man's heart. Eternity into man's heart. There's still debate about what the expression could mean exactly. And I'm not a Hebrew scholar, so I'm not sure yet. But most of it seems to point to what Paul talks about in Romans 1. How in us there is a reality that we know God exists. Even if we try to hold back the truth in unrighteousness, we still know God exists. Or in chapter 2, when he talks about how it's written in our hearts, this law of God, we know that we owe Him an account. There's something in us. And that's probably what he means here. That there's something in us that says, God exists. There is something greater than us. But it still doesn't give us all the answers, though. Like he said, it is God who does everything in its timing. He decides the seasons. So, not about us deciding our seasons or controlling them. He does all of it. Everything. But it's still about figuring it out, though, right? Well, no, because he then adds, yet so, he cannot, man, find what God has done from the beginning to the end. Remember that mention I said about the poem? It's always about the extremes. Life and death. Planting and uprooting. God does all that in a way that we can't figure it out. So that's what he's saying. That's the point. God does it in such a way that we can't figure it out and we can't control it either. What do we do then? Glad you asked. I perceived, through inspiration, that there is nothing better for them, men, women, than to be joyful and to do good as long as they live. This is not eat, drink, for tomorrow we die. It's not enjoy life as much as you can. No. Because in chapter 2, he told us this ability to truly enjoy life in the toils is of God, not of us. So he's still focused on that. But he still says that even though you can't control the seasons, you can't know when they're coming, there is something for you though. The ability to enjoy or to be content whatever season you're in. But still, do not forget one thing. Also that everyone should eat and drink and take pleasure in all his toil. This is God's gift to man. It is a gift of God, in a better way of saying it. It's God who gives us the ability to truly enjoy or be content no matter the season. It is of Him. I hope you're seeing how this is focused on God, not us. And this is the whole poem, as he's explaining to us, is focused on God Himself. Ruling over all of this, bringing things to be as He wants, leaving us in the shadows of not understanding, and then giving us the ability to enjoy it no matter what season we're in. The good or the bad season, the hard or the easy seasons, He gives us the ability to enjoy them, to be content in it. It is a gift from God. Why does He do that though? Another great question. Who else may help us? I perceive, again, through inspiration, that whatever God does endures forever. Nothing can be added to it, nor anything taken from it. God has done it so that, here's the reason, people fear before Him. Remember that good we put in our pocket? We're seeing it here elaborate even more, right? What God does endures forever. You cannot change it. No matter what people say, He is sovereign, not us. Nothing can be added to it or taken away. because it's good, it is perfect, it is right. Every season in your life is exactly what it should be. It is not you who made a mistake. It is not Satan taking over. It is God bringing his season and his timing as he sees fit in his goodness. Trust that. Surrender to that. Or like he says, the reason for all this is that we would fear him. The beginning of wisdom and this relationship with God is the fear of the Lord. This reverence, but also this fear is bringing us to our knees and says, Lord, you've done whatever you want. You are God. And Lord, thank you. You gave me your son to save me, make me your own. You picked me up in your hand. I'm yours now as a child. So I give you everything. Your will be done. I trust you fully and completely like Jesus did. That's what it's about. As everything happens all around us, we simply trust him. And now Cole's going to bring all of it home with that last little exclamation mark of verse 15 and say this: that which is already has been, that which is to be already has been in God. Cease what has been driven away. It's like he's taken that first poem of monotony and everything turning in circles and nothing new under the sun. And then takes this poem about the different extremes of life and kind of smush them together. Right? That which is already the season you're in, well, has been, because everything keeps turning in circle. That which is to be, the next season, also has already been. Let's take one example. How about solitude or singleness? The season you might be in right now. It is one that other people have lived as well. But then you connect it to the fact that there may be a new season coming up. Marriage, relationships, which again, God will bring in his timing, but it's a season that's already existed for many others. But here's the kicker though. When he talks about God seeks, it's more God brings what has been driven away. In other words, God can change it. So you start with the single season, then you enter the marriage season, but then maybe something happens. The person dies or divorce. But then you're in single season again. God can also change that. You might think to yourself, well, now it's over. Now I'm going to be alone for the rest of my life. And God says, no, I'm going to change that too. I can do that. God can do that. He only brings the things that aren't into being. But again, it's all about he does it. He's in control of it. Again, at least it's frustrated because you can't change it. That's the whole point. No matter what people say, you can't. What we're called to do is to take pleasure in it by the grace of the Lord, by his work in our lives. As I've said, it's sad that we want to make it about manipulating God and controlling circumstances, when the whole Bible is all about submitting to God and trusting him for our circumstances. A faith that says, I don't understand, but I trust you. Your will be done, because your will is good and perfect. Mine is flesh and carnal. And to rejoice in every season he brings us through. Again, by his ability and grace. May he bring us to submission and trust in God. May he bring us to truly be able to enjoy and appreciate all these seasons, all while praying to change the bad seasons, for sure. For sure, we're not called to stay in suffering, but say, Lord, if not, give me to enjoy the season I'm in by your grace and help to the praise of your glory. Oh, may God help us to do that, dear brothers and sisters. And this note, be blessed.